So now we're gonna take phone calls. We've got I think I got through everything in the formal presentation today. I did. So we'll take some phone calls and see what's there. There's a lot of you on the stream this month. Thank you so much. We had, where's my analytics? I'll let you see what I see on my side. Zoom up on some of this. So I get to watch, where's the picture? It's not there. It's not there. It's there. So I get to watch, concurrent viewers and seeing what you're doing. And we just get more and more and more people every month. We really appreciate you doing this. It's always nice to know that as I'm prepping all of these materials, that I at least know someone will be there to watch it. Nice to have that there. Okay. Generally, what we do in the after show is just answer questions of any kind, of any type, of anything. If you want to know anything about A+, you can ask it. If you want to know about anything else, you can ask it. If you want to know about world events, you can ask it. I'll probably be completely oblivious, but you can ask it. There's if you want to know just how this whole thing works, you can ask. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. But we've got the phone calls up. If you'd like to follow us or get the phone calls, you can call in via Skype, absolutely free. We've got another line you can use just on your mobile phone. All those numbers are on the live viewing page at professormesser.com/live. And let's go straight to the phones. Let's see if someone's there from a bunch of ones. So I'm not sure what the area code is there. Are you there, caller?
You should know it's me by now, Professor. M.A. Graham.
You would think, M.A., that I would absolutely be clued in on this with the all ones. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for getting in there. I saw you were in there early. Hopefully your streaming was better than it has been in the past.
And that's the reason why I called.
Tell me a story.
That it was absolutely perfect today.
So I wonder which one of these things that changed. Was it the tweaks you made to the firewall? Was it other things that happened just outside the scope of what we can touch or know about? Was it solar flares?
I'm thinking it's one of three different things. I tried to remember everything that changed on my system since we last had it, and it is either the tweaks I made to the firewall, number one. Number two, it could have been a flash upgrade. Or number three, it could have been a NVIDIA GT driver upgrade. Those are the only three things that I can recall that actually changed.
The thing about that is that it could absolutely have been any one of those things, in my mind.
Yep.
And
one way to test it, to test it would be on the next time you do a network, or if you want to do a private screen test, is for me to cancel the firewall rule and see if it goes back to the old way of doing it, and that'll rule in or out that one possibility.
I think that would be a good way to do it. I've always been curious about this. In fact, you were working with, maybe I should firewall out. One of the things when you mentioned firewalls is that firewalling the YouTube caches. YouTube has a multi-tiered delivery mechanism for videos, and what they'll do is they have caches everywhere. In fact, some ISPs have YouTube caching devices at their facility. Netflix does a similar thing, but what happens then if you're watching that popular video of a cat, it's coming off the main YouTube server and then getting stored, at least temporarily, on a caching server. One of the problems, ideally it's supposed to speed things up so that if you're the next person to watch the video, you don't have to go all the way back to the main YouTube data center to be able to see the video and drag it across the internet. You instead are pulling it from the cache, which is great, unless there's a problem with the cache. And if a cache gets overloaded or it's very, very busy, it's not always easy to deploy a new cache just because of the amount of disk space required for that. So one of the things you might have seen was a caching problem. But as I mentioned before we started here, live events generally aren't cached because nobody's watched them before. It's live. There's no way to play around with that. But then again, we don't know how YouTube works either. There's magic or something they do in there. So who knows if the caching is used for a live event that it's streamed through. Who knows? They're streamed through the cache. I don't know.
I think the point of the firewall changes was to at least eliminate that as a potential problem and have it go directly to the source live thing.
It's one of those things where we really don't care really which one of these things solved the problem. We just wanted to solve the problem.
It just got solved. I actually do have a question. It's a networking question, which came up as a result of one of your questions you said today.
Okay.
There is RAID 5, but I know that a lot of people and firms use RAID 6.
Yes.
And I would be interested in maybe if you want to do it for the next network thing, a quick tutorial on the differences between 5 and 6.
It's really quite simple. Now, I will give a disclaimer for everyone who's watching this, who's preparing for their A+ exam. RAID 6 is not currently in the A+ exam objectives. It's just not.
And that's why I asked it here instead of, actually as a formal part of the thing.
I think it's interesting to know, though. In fact, it might help you. Knowing RAID 6 might help you for the exam when you're learning about RAID 5. RAID 5, obviously, is where we are striping, and there is parity. RAID 6 takes this another level and adds additional parity. So you've got striping and then 2 sets of parity for the data. Think of it as a redundant piece of your redundant section. Your parity is there to take over if you lose a major drive. Obviously, if you lose your parity, you're still running just fine. But if you've got extra parity drive there as well, then you could recover even after losing one parity drive and losing a separate disk. There's so many horror stories. If you go read forums, go out to some of the Reddit sysadmin subreddits where people have those horror stories where there's a power outage and they booted their machines and all of their drive arrays back up, and 2 drives broke during that. RAID 5, I could handle 1 drive breaking. What happens when 2 drives go down? Some of the others that we saw, like RAID 1+0 and RAID 6, are designed to help in those situations. And it's not uncommon to see RAID 6 in those environments where having that data always available and minimizing an impact like that would be something useful to use.
Okay. Well, again, I thank you. I appreciate it. I will email you if I figure out to test this other thing for the caching. And again, I appreciate your help and all you do.
Yeah, if you want to do that, let me know. I'll send out a tweet. Everybody can play along with us if they want. I'll just go to my live stream and tweet it out, and you can change something. I'll just keep doing this or whatever I want to stream on this end, and we'll see how it goes. I'll use exactly the same mechanism. I'll use exactly the same equipment. I'll use exactly the same YouTube live stream, and we can always play around with that. It'd be interesting to see what the problem really was.
Okay. And I'll be in your area in October. I still owe you that cup of coffee.
Excellent. Are you coming for any particular reason? Are you coming back to the cavern? Was it the caverns you were going to last time?
Well, no, I'm a cave diver. And of
That's
course,
what it was.
I dive at pond in Mariana.
That's it. In Mariana, the national caverns are there. It's a national park. An amazing set of caverns. For those of you interested in seeing more about those caverns in Mariana, you should absolutely Google that and have a look at them. Some amazing stuff there. And hopefully the weather will be just right for you to be able to do this. Sometimes not enough rain or too much rain can be a thing, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Well, okay, I think I should be a good in the mill pond doing some of the caves. Remember, I'm diving underwater in the cave, so nobody should do that without appropriate training.
Indeed.
That's very important.
Indeed, but I hear it's amazing, so that would be great to hear about.
It is. Well, thanks again, Professor. I'll get back to you when I'm ready to do the test, or if you want to say when you're going to be online, I'll try and do my test then.
Sounds good. Thanks for calling, May.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Those caves are amazing. I remember going there as a child. I had grandparents who lived in Mariana, Florida, and they would take us to the Florida caverns. Just an amazing set of natural caves. It's remarkable how huge they are. We got some other people on the phone. We'll go to the 859 area code. Are you there? 859.
I'm here.
You are there. Hi, what's your name?
Hey, my name's Michael, and I'm in Northern Kentucky,
Michael?
Greater Cincinnati area.
Excellent. Thanks for calling. What can we do for you today?
Well, I had a troubleshooting question. It has to do with Microsoft Office 2013, specifically Microsoft Word. I work at home for Anthem, and so I log into a VPN every day, and I have a new laptop on a docking station, and so I work with these applications every day, and I've had this ongoing issue, and it's really a bit of a mystery because I'll call Access IT repeatedly and get help from level 2 technicians. And
yes.
What will happen is it will be working, seem to be working correctly, sometimes for days at a time, and all of a sudden I'll go to print, and it'll just lock up and freeze and become non-responsive.
Ooh.
And so they've the test page works, so I'm pretty sure it's not the printer, but we've reinstalled printer drivers. The system's even been re-imaged.
Wow.
And we've updated group policies and repaired system files and basically done everything they know to do. And like I said, I continue to work every day, and I never know when the problem's going to happen again, but at some point it always reoccurs. The application hangs and freezes, and I have to do repairs and restarts, and then it will work temporarily again before it happens again.
What a mess. So sometimes it works fine.
Correct.
Sometimes it does. Oh, no.
Right.
This is like the worst possible scenario. Plus, you get to throw printing in there along with it, as if printing itself wasn't hard enough to be able to troubleshoot. Now there's operating system piece around to it, and the fact that it sounds like this whole system completely unresponsive. You have to hard power down the system and power it back up.
Right. Well, typically I'll do a repair to Microsoft Office and then restart the computer.
Wow.
And then it will work again for a while.
And nobody else is having this problem, ostensibly.
Not to this extent, no. There are some other people within my team, my virtual community, that have had this issue, but not the way I have.
It certainly sounds like something has gone awry somewhere between the print driver and the operating system, doesn't it? Because it's when this problem occurs, does any other part of Windows work properly? Could you print a test page at that point when the problem is occurring?
Right. If I pull up the printer properties after Word has froze,
yes,
it will allow me to print a
really?
test page. Yes.
So it sounds like something else over from the Word side is the thing that's really causing the problem. How frustrating! I wish I could even tell you where to even that I've had this problem and where the problem is, and I've run into this before. And people talk about I've never even had that particular situation. If I had to compartmentalize it, though, because that's sort of the first step of troubleshooting, is trying to come up with the scenarios that it certainly could be. Well, we've got Windows or Microsoft Word doesn't talk to the printer. We know that it's a multi-step process. Microsoft Word talks to the spooler, and then the spooler then, of course, does all the printing, but it doesn't sound like we're even getting that far. So if I had to compartmentalize, I'd say, why is Microsoft Word not sending something to the spooler? And I guess a good question would be to look at the spooler and see if the application has even sent the file. Is the entire file in the spooler? And at this point, it's almost getting into that very detailed operating system view where you'd like to be able to look at event log and seeing if anything was in there, or looking at process monitor. Let's see if I'm getting the right one. It may take a third-party tool like process monitor to be able to see that piece. Let me bring this up on my screen so I can kind of show. I know you can't see it on the stream until you are working with this, or maybe even to be able to see this. Where's the other sysinternal download that I work with? Let me find it, because I've got there's some great process utilities. If you look for Windows sysinternals is where you go to. And the thing that I like to look at is the process monitor. I'm going to bring this up on my screen so that everybody can see it if I show the right screen here. Here we go. That's not it. Process monitor is one where it creates this enormous breakdown of what's going on in your computer. It goes into much more detail than Event Viewer does. It gives you kind of a real-time view. These screenshots on the website are very bad, but it gives you an amazingly constantly scrolling amount of information. on every application running on your computer, everything that's going on. If you move your mouse on the screen between one window and another, like 20 different things pop up in Process Monitor. It's enormous. It's almost too complex to be able to troubleshoot without a Microsoft person involved, but you can kind of figure it out. But it allows you to also filter out apps. So if I was trying to troubleshoot this myself and trying not to call tech support, I would probably run that first, filter out just the communication happening between Microsoft Word and everything else, and see what happens, what messages pop up when it starts sending something to the spooler. The fact that it's something that is so intermittent has got to be one of the most frustrating parts of this, because how do you even figure that out? Is it a memory leak? Is it a section of my drive that's not working properly? Is it a permissions piece going to the spooler? It could be like a huge number of things here. I think Process Monitor may be able, and maybe there's information in your event log, but Process Monitor would absolutely tell you what's going on and what messages are being seen by the operating system. That might be ultimately your best bet. It's a very complex troubleshooting tool, but it tells you everything.
Fantastic. And that's a free download?
That's free download. Microsoft just makes it available. It's one of those that came over when Microsoft acquired the sysinternals team, and Mark Rusinovich, who's amazing. If you ever want to read really internals of Windows, he has some great books. Mark Rusinovich, who was also one of the writers of this particular utility. As I mentioned, it will give you more information than you ever wanted. But in this particular case, it sounds like that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I will mention one other thing quickly. You mentioned the spooler, and sometimes what will happen is I'll go to print and nothing will happen, and I'll go into devices and printers, and it will show that it's not selected as the default printer, which it was the day before.
Oh.
And so I'll have the troubleshooting icon, and I'll troubleshoot, and it will check the spooler for errors, and usually it will fix it, and then the document will print. Sometimes documents will get backed up in the queue, but yeah, it's just this weird thing that does happen. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the WriteFax application, but I'm constantly switching back and forth between WriteFax and then my printer, because if I want to fax, I have to go into the system tray and right-click the icon and select WriteFax, and then I also have to change that on the document too. And then if I want to print, I have to go back and do that same thing to reselect everything.
Oh my!
So yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have to change the first. Your default printer should never be changing unless you're changing it. You shouldn't have to change the default printer just to be able to print from something else. If you wanted to have your default printer as your normal printer, and then when you wanted to fax, all you have to do is tail the application, send that to the fax, and not my default printer, and that should work fine. You should never have to change your default printer in there. I wonder if something else is going in and changing it. It should not change from day to day unless your organization has certain group policies or certain settings in your Windows that changes things when your system starts, or it modifies things based on what the group policies happen to be, which, again, that's another step of troubleshooting.
Okay, great. So the Process Monitor is on the Microsoft website.
It is. Do a search for Microsoft Process Monitor, and you'll be in good shape. Some people even said Process Explorer is a good one. Process Explorer shows you the things that are running right now. It's sort of a hyped-up version of the event viewer. But Process Monitor, I think, is the one that will give you this enormous log that you'll then be able to pour through and see just what was going on.
Okay, great.
Boy, good luck with that. I wish I could give you a yes, here's an answer, but that's going to take some real work to figure that one out. I'd love to hear if you ever figure it out.
Well, I'd be happy to give you a call back and give you an update for sure.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for calling, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Well, those are such frustrating problems, though, especially when they're intermittent, because you never know what it could possibly be. You're just oblivious to the whole thing. It's all happening behind the scenes. There's no messages. It just hangs. You have to restart, do recoveries. Oh, I hate that. That is painful. Let's have we've got more people on the phone. So let's go to who's been holding the longest. The 978 area code has. Are you there, caller? Hi, what's your name? Let's see if I push the right button. There we go. Hi 978.
Dave from Massachusetts.
Hey, Dave. How are you? Thanks for calling.
Actually, I was just kind of wondering. I know you already did the Net Plus, but I was wondering if you're going to do the CCENT.
The courses that I have on my website currently are the A Plus, the Network Plus, the Security Plus, and I've got a Microsoft 7680 there, and I've done some Linux Plus videos, and I have every intention of doing more of those as well. This question does come up quite a bit. Now, Cisco has a series of exams that you could think of as sort of the next step after Network Plus that ultimately turn out to be the CCNA. Usually people get the CCNA routing and switching, the Cisco Certified Network Associate routing and switching, Cisco Certified Network Associate security. There's a number of different CCNA flavors. And most people will take the CCNA in two pieces. They'll take one exam, which is the CCENT, sort of an entry level or first step. A lot of people consider that very close to the Network Plus. And the other is the second part of that gives you the routing and switching or the security or any of those other exams or certifications that Cisco has. So your question specifically is, dude, you got the Network Plus. Why don't you just do some of the Cisco stuff? Because it's like it's a second cousin. It's a first cousin. Why don't you keep going with that piece? So, and I think I've said in the past that currently I don't have any plans to include any Cisco related training, and that is still the case. Many of you that have followed us through the years, I say us because there's only one person here. It's me. There's only one guy making these videos. But you followed us through the years, and you've seen that some of you may be aware that I have a day job. I have things in a company I work for during the day, and I do this Professor Messer thing on the nights and on weekends. The company I work with during the day happens to be a direct competitor to Cisco in some of their product lines. So it would probably not behoove me to produce Cisco-related videos if I'm working for an employer who is a direct competitor to Cisco. I just see that as a career-limiting move. I think you would probably agree with that. It's one of those things, Dave, that it seems like it would be a logical thing to do. But on my side, I'm unfortunately somewhat restricted at being able to create materials that might help my direct competitor. My bosses probably wouldn't like that too much.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for the answer.
And I agree. It would be interesting to do. Maybe someday I can. But currently, at least in the short term, no plans to do it. But fortunately, a lot of the Network Plus materials do overlap with a large section of the CCENT exam. So at least there's some of the materials that if you were studying for the Cisco might get you at least some part of the way. And you could at least look at the exam objectives and break those down and see what those differences might be. But at least for the time being, that's about as far as we'll go into the Cisco world of things. But I appreciate you asking.
No, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you for answering the question.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling.
All right, bye.
There's so much with certifications to do. And I think that's why I went and I did the Microsoft stuff. I did some of the Linux pieces as well. There's so much to do. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And right now I'm busy working on the latest Security Plus videos for the 401 exam, already posting some of those. They're actually all in the can. I've finished the primary production of all of those videos. So I'm just sitting every day and editing. Boy, it's a lot to edit. There's a ton to edit. All right, let's go to another call. Let's go to the 812 area code. Let's see if this will pick up the line. Are you there, caller?
Hi, Professor. My name is Vicki.
Hi,
I'm
Vicki.
in Bloomington, Indiana.
Thanks for calling.
My question is, thank you. My question is, I now, with your help, received my A+.
Yeah, congratulations.
Net Plus and Security
Wow,
Plus.
okay.
My question is, where to go from now? From now, I've seen the Cloud Plus and the Storage Plus, but I didn't know if those were really then my next steps, or what would you recommend?
This is also a common question that comes in, and I'm glad you were able to bring that up, because this does come up from time to time. So generally, people are getting certifications for one or two or sometimes more than that number of reasons. Generally, you're getting a certification exam so that you can have a base amount of knowledge that you can then prove to an employer so that they will either initially hire you or they will perhaps move you up in the organization or allow you to move up in your existing organization or get another job somewhere else that allows you to take advantage of that knowledge. Some people prefer just getting their certification so that they'll be happy with getting a certification. You do it for personal reasons. You just want to be smarter about the technologies. Some people will go through the entire course and not take the exam. So they effectively have the knowledge that they could go out and take the certification if they wanted. They just never do it. In your particular case, what do you want to be able to do with these certifications? What is your goal with these particular certs?
Well, right now I'm unemployed, and I'm looking to get into the workforce. I've been out of the workforce for 20 plus years.
Okay.
So this is where I'm at. I'm just right now I'm still going to school.
I think that's one of the greatest things I think about information technology is the computers have no idea that you haven't been working with them for 20 years. And you can go into a new line of technology at any time and you're just as fresh and new and learning those new things as everyone else. I think now about cloud computing. I think about virtualization. I think about all of these latest technologies that are out here that people are actively using in these organizations, and they're desperate for people to know how to use this new stuff because nobody knows because it's all brand new. 10 years ago, we didn't have all of these things to work with. Now all of a sudden we do. It's really remarkable in how things change. The one thing you do want to be careful with when you're positioning yourself in any type of role is the amount of experience or the amount of knowledge that you have about these pieces. If you have A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus, you're perfect for going in and getting one of these entry-level IT positions in a repair group, in a help desk, in a Microsoft operating system team, on a server team. You've got all the basics that you need. One mistake I see people sometimes making, if it's not managed properly, is they'll go out and get every possible certification known to man. They'll get Cisco certifications, Microsoft certifications. They'll get the CompTIA. They'll go get some from VMware. And I asked, what are you doing in IT? Well, I'm not doing anything in IT. I'm looking to get my entry-level piece. The problem is that if you throw at an employer that you have all of this information, all of these certifications, they're going to look at this and go, wow, they're going to be really bored sitting on a help desk. I'm going to hire them, put all this investment into training them, and in 3 months they're going to leave because they're already into the cloud computing stuff. They're already doing virtualization. They're already working with Microsoft Server and doing and managing an Active Directory infrastructure and setting global policies. That's the part you have to really be careful with. Now, if you do have all these certifications, maybe you create specialized resumes or CVs for whoever you happen to be giving this to. You don't have to tell everybody that you have all these certs, but generally, if you're looking for entry level, most of them are looking for A+, or they're looking for A+ and Network Plus. So I would recommend that you go look at what the employers want. Either look at their job postings, and don't be too scared of the job postings. We were talking about this in chat the other night. Employers like to put in job postings everything they would ever possibly want to see in the perfect person who walked in the door, knowing full well that nobody's going to walk in with every single one of these credentials associated with them. And the employer tends to do their own balancing act over, oh, they have a 4-year degree, but they don't have an A+, or they have the A+, but they have a 2-year degree, or whatever that combination of things is. And it might be good to even call if you have a personal relationship with somebody at an organization, or you know people at these organizations who work in IT. Ask them, what type of people are you looking for at your help desk? Do you need A+ certification? Some places have a requirement that everybody in the help desk must have an A+. Some of them have no requirement at all, which means your A+ helps you, but not to the degree that it's a requirement for the position. So I've talked all this time and not really given you an answer to where the next step might be for you. But if with the idea in mind that you don't want to overextend yourself, but you are interested in continuing the educational process and getting more certifications, my recommendation to you would be do what you like to do. If you have gotten into this point, A+ and Network Plus and Security Plus, you've gotten a little flavor of almost everything. Do you like working with operating systems? Maybe the Microsoft certifications are for you. Did networking and routing and switching, and doing packet analysis, was that interesting for you? Maybe the Cisco certifications would be good for you. Are you interested in learning more about the virtualization and the cloud technologies and the new things coming from VMware? Maybe the VMware certifications would be a good place to go. You just have to balance that out with what you think the employers are going to see. And of course, be very careful that you don't overextend what employer might see of you, and they might just assume not hiring you because you'd be bored in the role.
Thank you so much. That was some really good advice. I am most interested, I think, in the network end of it. So more studying in Cisco, I guess, is my next step. But thank you very much.
That's where I started. I started in at a computer store in Miami, and from there moved to an insurance company in their help desk. And I mean, it was more of a corporate help desk. I had my cube, and I went out to different parts of the building and helped people with their computers. And from there, I got really into Microsoft Windows, and I started working more with Windows. I moved into more of their desktop side. As I was working in Windows, I really started looking at the packets that were going over the network. And I got really into the networking side of things. And that just swept me up. And I just went completely into the networking side with routing and switching and wide area networks and working on the Ethernet side of things and really getting into the packets. And from there, it led me into security. So the good part about this is no matter what you choose right now, I almost guarantee you'll end up doing something else in the future anyway. It will lead you down that path.
Thank you again for all of your help.
Thanks, Vicki. Best of luck. Let us know how it goes.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye. We've got another call here also, the 201 area code. Are you there, caller?
Yes. Hello, Professor. I'm just calling to thank you so much for all your hard work and just to give compliments to you, and I truly appreciate it.
Very welcome. Hi, what's your first name?
My first name is Shen.
Hello, Shen. Thanks for calling, and I appreciate hearing from you. I'm often in my little room in here in this here we go. I've got the pictures up on the stream. I've just got a room set up where I do these videos. There's no direct feedback except the chat rooms that I have in, and people do send generally very nice emails to me and saying they were able to use them. And I love hearing when people are able to use the videos and at least learn something or get a certification or that kind of thing. That's the primary reason that I do this. I think everybody should work towards getting a job where they just get great feedback all the time. They feel like they're doing something good for someone, because that makes me feel good whenever I'm doing something like that. So I appreciate it. Now, do you have your A+ certification or Network Plus? What are you doing with the videos?
I just completed my 801 exam, and I'll be taking my 802 exam next month.
Oh, congratulations, and best of luck with the 802. That's now into operating systems and mobile devices. And there was an ongoing debate on the chat room this very week. Some people were saying the 801 exam is easier than the 802. And other people going, no. The 802 is easier than the 801. So I guess it really depends on your background and how comfortable you are with operating systems. I think a lot of people that are comfortable with Windows do better on the 802. People who are into the hardware and ripping apart computers and putting them back together, I think, do better on the 801. I think that both of them are equally as complicated or not, depending on how you look at it. I think they are similarly difficult between them. I don't think one is necessarily harder than the other. So I wish you luck with that as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Good luck. Take care. Then let us know how it goes.
Okay, sure.
Take care.
Thank you.
We've gone through, a very large amount of information in a very short period of time. The lines are still open if you'd like to call in. We've got a few minutes left before they turn off completely. Some of you know that they're open for a block of 2 hours, and then after that 2 hours, you can't call in anymore. If you're on the phone after the 2 hour time frame, I've got you in there. But if not, it just cuts you off completely. One of these days, and I keep saying this, I've said it now for a couple of months, and I've just done the highest level of research on it, is to get my own virtual system, maybe hosted in the cloud, my own phone system, probably running asterisk or something where I can set up my own inbound, sort of like I'm using now. I'm using a service called BlogTalkRadio now that has this virtual front end where I can pick up the phone calls. I can put people's names in here. I can see what they're doing. If I had a producer, they would be taking the calls and putting all of this information in here so I could see it before I picked up the line. But I'm just doing everything myself in this particular view. What I'd like to do is do that myself so that I could have my own inbound system so that I wouldn't be restricted to 2 hours a day. I'd like to do sometimes just have the phone lines open all day. Just open them up and be able to work with them. I guess it just depends how people would like to work, because that would make sense. I could take the asterisk, maybe the conference room functionality. If I could dump everybody into the conference room already muted, and then I could go to the web front end and manually unmute people just as I was doing here, because that's effectively what Blog Talk Radio does. And then be able to work with that. That would be great. I could just load those up. It's very inexpensive to get 800 numbers. And if it's all voice over IP and it's hosted in the cloud, which is exactly the way Blog Talk Radio works, I can't see why I wouldn't be able to do that with my own server, except for the fact that it's more complicated. Blog Talk Radio does allow me to upgrade to have more minutes per day, but it's not one of those things where I can, at an instant, just go to the phones and keep it open for 6 hours. They don't give me that capability. So that's not something I can do with that. It's Blog Talk Radio, and I wanted to build my own asterisk server is what I want to be able to do. So that's very useful to have that, to be able to work. The Blog Talk Radio is best one I've used. There's some others out there. What's the one with the there's another service that I used to use. I'm trying to remember the name, and for some reason I'm thinking of a shoe or a foot. TalkShoe. That's what it is. I see in my future a foot. TalkShoe was another one. So if you wanted to do your own call-in show like this, you could use TalkShoe. Blog Talk Radio has some nice features. I upgraded and have a bigger system. I can do more minutes per day. There's 800 numbers, so you can call in via Skype for free. TalkShoe had some limitations along those lines, and I really haven't seen anything like the Blog Talk Radio setup that they have, unless, of course, you build it yourself. So if anybody knows of an asterisk expert, I would love to talk to them to get in their brains and see what they think about that. What I really should do is, it's literally $5, $10 a month to have your own asterisk server. I really should just pay for that and just try it out when I have some time. Like I said, I'm doing the Security Plus editing right now. So there's just constant editing going on and producing a video. So I've got another 9 or 10 videos I need to put out on YouTube today for that piece. So we're going to do those pieces and get through them as well. We've got a caller in from the 702 area code. Are you there, caller? What's your name?
Hello?
Hi, what's your name?
Oh, hi, my name's Suleiman. How are you?
Hey, doing fine. Thanks for calling. What can we do for you today?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of your videos, and I appreciate with the detailed information that you give. It's just been very effective. I've just spent a few hours watching one of your videos, and very effective. But
Thanks.
I've got my exams on Tuesday next week.
Oh.
I'm doing an 8 or 2, but I'm finding it very hard to keep them in my head, like memorize.
Yes.
So what is the best method to keep them in my head?
You broke up just a little bit at the end of that. You're taking the 801 or the 802?
802.
Okay, so this is the one that has operating systems. There is the mobile devices on there. Security is on that particular one. You do have the benefit of not having to go through and learn all the interfaces and connectors. So at least that part you've got ahead of you that you don't have to worry about. The 802 primarily focuses on operating system. That's the huge bulk of the exam anyway. There's certainly other things. You don't want to focus solely on OS. And there's so many very intricate things. You have to know the differences between Windows XP and Windows Vista and Windows 7 and where they store the user files. You have to know what can be upgraded and what can't be upgraded. You have to understand the system requirements. That's hard enough for me to remember, and I did the course. It's just a huge amount of data that you have to cram in there and know. There's probably some of the best things you can do. And unfortunately, it's really the case. It's rote memorization. You have to just, if you haven't worked with it or a lot of it in a very short period of time, you just have to go through and remember them. A lot of folks in the chat room have used some of the open source or openly available flashcards that are out there. And that may be a good way to do it. At least at that point, you would be able to go through and kind of see if you can remember what the minimum installation requirements would be for Windows 7 memory. How much disk space do I need to install Windows XP? That kind of thing. Because that one, there's no shortcut. There's no mnemonics really that I could pull from that. There's no standardizations across the different versions. It really is rote memorization. Now, from knowing the operating system, and here's the big challenge a lot of people have is command line. You have to be able to run the ping command. You have to be able to run the MBT stat. You have to be able to run netstat. You have to know what all the flags are. I think a lot of that's just sitting down and using it. And if you have a book that has labs in it, that's one of the best things you can do is just pop open a command line window in your Windows front end and run through some of those labs. I tend to learn more when I'm typing it myself and seeing what the results are. And then maybe even trying different things that aren't in the lab, going outside the scope and seeing what works and what doesn't. That may be the best way, because the performance-based questions on 802 could absolutely just pop you up to a command prompt, and it's up to you to go from there.
All right.
So I wish
sorry?
I said I wish I had an easier way to do that, but I think that's really the best way to learn those things. Go ahead.
Yeah, to practice it in practical terms, isn't it? Like, go hands-on and then better from that.
Exactly.
I've also done an 8-1 on 3 days later after that. So I'm trying to revise both, if that makes sense.
Which one are you doing 3 days later?
801.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's suicide, but is it possible to learn both simultaneously? Or
It's absolutely possible. It's a lot of information, but there are people all the time that will send me an email and say, "Hey, I went and took my 801 and my 802 today at the same time. They took one in the morning, they waited an hour, and then they took the next one." There have been some books that I have seen where the author of the book actually recommends for you to do that. I don't necessarily agree with that. Actually, I don't agree with that. I think you should probably take them at least a day apart to be able to do that. But if you are doing that, then grab one of those books, go all the way through it, grab my videos, watch all of those for both of those exams. The good part about this, that you're taking both of them, is that the 801 and the 802 generally have completely different kinds of information in them. So if you know you're going to be taking the 802, you can kind of study for both. But here, now that you're in kind of the last weekend, maybe you focus on the 802 until you take that exam. Then you've got 3 days to cram all the 801 stuff back into your head. And that may be the best way to go about doing it. I think it's absolutely doable as long as you spent a bit of time on the front end really going through the material and getting it into your head to begin with. And now you can break them out by exam type.
Yeah. What is the minimum hours I should spend to revise a day?
It's different for everyone. Sometimes it's dependent on just physics. I get, between 5 o'clock and when I go to sleep, that's my time frame to do things. So that's why I'll make videos. I'll read through a book. I'm taking my own certification exams. I'm reading through other things. As I mentioned in the pre-show, I'm spending a lot of time doing games, which I shouldn't be doing. So now I have to redirect myself. No more gaming. Let's focus on work. Those things, their family has things. They would like to be able to see me. I come out of my studio. My children go, "Who's the man that's eating dinner with us?" Well, that's your father. He's just been making videos all week. Those things are important too. So I like to grab them. We'll go get a burger. We'll go do something fun. You kind of have to balance that out. You have a very large amount of information that you need to learn in a very short period of time. It normally takes, on average, it takes generally of that casual study 3 to 6 months. Somewhere in there generally is what people are spending to get all of the information into their head. And as I mentioned earlier, if you already have experience with operating systems or hardware, it might be less than that. But I think somebody who doesn't know anything can spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months to really get everything they need to know for both exams.
Perfect.
Well, I wish you luck. That is a lot of information in a very short period of time, but it's absolutely doable. And if you stay focused and you take some good practice exams and you really know the material, you should be fine.
Yeah, I want to give it everything I got. But yeah, I mean, your videos they gave me some confidence when I watched the videos, because you explained them in depth and detail. I appreciate that as well. You give out the little details, which is very effective.
I try to stay directly with the exam objectives. So if you're following along with the exam objectives, you'll see what's in the videos. And I always recommend that you get a good book to go along with the videos, because I can't put everything in the world into these videos, and the books tend to fill in a lot of the color around the things I talk about in the videos.
Yeah. Cool. And I should take notes as well, isn't it? Like, I mean, when you're...
I think everybody should. That's one of the reasons I made my study guides, is people were saying, I've just gone through all the videos, I should have taken a bunch of notes. Do you have them anywhere? Yeah. Now I can at least say, yes, here's some notes that I have. So if somebody's gone through a book, they've gone through the videos, they'd have a quick kind of cheat sheet to go through every topic that was presented in all those videos.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you luck, Sullivan. That's a lot of information in a short period. It'll be a bit of a challenge, but I can't wait to hear what the result is.
Yeah, I'll give you the update. I'll give you a call on your next. When's your next live feed?
Well, we do one of these every month on A+, another one on Network Plus. I think our Network Plus study group is near the end of the month, so in at least I think it's 3 weeks from today. So that'll be my next live event, and then the next A+ live event will be next month. But send me an email. Cool. Go to the website. Yeah, send me a note.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll give you an update with that. Well, just wish me the best, man.
Good luck with that. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.
And I need to get over to the UK again, where everybody says cheers. We should do that in the US. Just do that. It sounds awesome. We've made it through all of the phone calls. In fact, prior to the study group today, I was even shooting more video. I'd already finished primary production for Security Plus, but as I was editing, I'm like, I need to change that. So we went back and did reshoots on a couple of videos. So I got that done, which is kind of why I'm in my video shirt. I generally don't wear my video shirt. Someone once said, do you own another shirt? Is it always a blue or black shirt that you're always wearing? And you'll notice if you go back through every study group up to this, so the last couple of years of study groups, it's always been a different shirt. I do that intentionally because people latch onto that for some reason. But today I didn't. So actually I did, and then I ended up spilling coffee on it, and I just changed it back into the shirt. So that was more information than you really needed to know about the process of creating videos in this studio, isn't it? There's always something interesting going on. We've always got something new that I'm throwing into this mix, and I've got even more things planned over the upcoming months. Just a lot of interesting things happening. I wish I could share them with you, but soon I'll be able to talk all about them. But we've come to the end of the second hour of all of this thing that we call the study group, whatever this is. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Thanks for sitting through and playing through all of the questions that we had today. If you'd like to watch us live, remember to go to ProfessorMesser.com/calendar, and you can try the live Q&A as well. It's always a lot of fun. I've got so much more happening on the website all the time. If you ever need to contact me, there's that contact us link at the top of every page of the website. I try to return every email I can. Sometimes I'm not able to do 100% of them, but I try really, really hard. So I do read every single thing that is sent to me, however, both on Twitter, both on email. So you usually hear from me after working hours here in the U.S., but that's something I will absolutely get back to you on. Thanks for joining us this month. It's been a fantastic study group, and we should do another one of these. The next study group is going to be in 3 weeks with the Network Plus study group, and then the next A Plus group will be sometimes next month. Keep checking in the calendar. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Professor Messer A Plus study group.